Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to share with you some short story collection recommendations. I really enjoy short stories and I have been kind of off of short stories for a while where I wasn't reading as many as I used to, but I really love them. So first of all, if you have short story collections that you recommend, leave them down below because I'm always looking for a good short story collection. But I want to share with you some of the ones that got pretty high ratings from me this year, and I'll tell you a little bit about them. So the first one I recently talked about in my Instagram Chooses My TBR video, which was a lot of fun. And so this was not a book I had ever heard of before. I just picked it up purely on a recommendation from an Instagram hashtag. And it was probably one of my favorite short story collections I've read all year. And that was If You See Me, Don't Say Hi. This is a collection of short stories about Indian Americans, and I really loved the different perspectives and just sort of the different worldview, because obviously I am not Indian American and I don't have a ton of interaction with their culture. So there was a lot of cultural aspects of this that were learning points for me, but also just kind of seeing perspectives from an Indian American author writing the stories of other Indian Americans. And I appreciated the fact that they weren't all from the same perspective. So even though he is a male, there were stories that were from a female perspective that were done really well. And there were varying ages and socioeconomic levels and things like that, so it had a lot of different things in it. And I think there was only maybe one or two stories in this that I didn't give 4 or 5 stars. And there was one short story in here, and that's what I'm flipping through, that I did make a note that there was trigger warning for, so I will put that down below. But it's These Things Happen. That story I would say has a trigger warning for cutting, so if that's something that you want to avoid, then maybe skip over that story in particular. But yes, fantastic, loved it, would definitely recommend this one. Next up is a short story collection that I think a lot of us have probably heard of because it is by our very own Jen Campbell, and that is The Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night. This was such a fun and whimsical collection of short stories. I will say there were some in here that were like out there weird and a little too weird for me. But essentially it's just like very fairy tale-esque. If you watch Jen's channel, then you'll probably have heard a lot about this already, but you would also kind of get an idea of the kinds of things that she likes and the kind of things that she writes about. And it just was really lovely and whimsical. There were varying perspectives, varying kind of magical realism situations. So if you like that whole magical realism thing, or like creepy things interwoven into regular life, this would be a good one for you. It was just a lot of fun, and it's also just a beautiful physical object too. So yes, I would highly recommend this one. This next short story collection I picked up on a whim when I was in Parnassus because it had a really good recommendation from the staff, and I read the first page of the first short story and liked the writing style, so I went ahead and picked it up. That is Tunneling to the Center of the Earth by Kevin Wilson. And this is a bunch of like set in the regular world, regular people stories. Some of them have a little bit of like a weird take, or like something kind of strange is happening, but they are still all, there's no magical realism or fantasy or anything in there. Whereas with Jen's collection, there's a lot of fantasy and magic and that kind of stuff in hers. This is just strictly real world, so if you like things that could actually happen, this is a fun one. We'll see there were a few of these in there that I felt were like too gritty for me, where I was just like, I'm not enjoying this at all. It was like too real and gritty, which that's a personal preference. And there was one, the title story of this, Tunneling to the Center of the Earth, is really weird and funny and like could that actually happen? And I just really liked that one. That one was probably my favorite out of all of them. But it was definitely a solid collection that I gave pretty high ratings to most of them. It did have a few of those duds that pulled the rating down that were just not for me, but still very good. And the last two are not short story collections, so they're a little bit of a cheat, but they are short fiction and they are part of a bigger collection. So that's what I'm going with here. That is the Biblio Mysteries series that you can get at the Mysterious Bookshop in New York or on their website. These are adorable little short fiction mystery novels, mystery thrillers, written by different well-known authors, and they are set in bookstores. They have to do with books or authors or writing or reading, that kind of thing. So they're all centered around the literary world, which is so much fun. This one, Remaindered, was a story about a man who is found dead in the back of his bookshop. He's a bookshop owner over a box of Agatha Christie's, and it's kind of looking at the bookstore and how it's like this meeting ground, but what kind of people is this a meeting ground for? And then this whole strange plot that I didn't see coming unfolds, and then you have the Agatha Christie part of it as well, and it was a lot of fun. And then this one is called The Book Thing, and it was set in a children's bookstore where the books start going missing, and this children's bookstore owner is very disgruntled, thinking about closing her shop, and this woman wants the shop to stay open, and so she takes it upon herself to do a little detective work, and what she finds is really endearing and sweet, and I just really loved this one. So these two are just two in a very large collection of little short fiction mystery thrillers from the Biblio Mystery series, so I'll link that down below. There's a lot of authors. I just grabbed two that sounded interesting to me while I was there, but I would definitely read more of these and pick up more of these. So that's just a short little video with a few short story collections or short fiction that I really enjoyed this year. Again, if you have short fiction or short story collections to recommend down below, please do that so that people can find more books to read and love, and so that I can get more recommendations. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye!